Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at my new and improved northern blue-tongued skink breeding setup that you see behind me. I'm really happy with it, really proud of it. It's a major upgrade for my animals compared to what they've had in the past. I'm excited to share that with you. Northern blue-tongued skinks like this one right here hold a very special place in my heart. They were one of the first species of reptile that I kept as a child. I've had blue tongues continuously since I was 12 years old, and I'm pushing 40 at this point. So they've been with me a very long time, and I just love them so much. In my opinion, they are the best, definitely one of the best pet lizards that you can have. This is a very exceptional one. This guy's name is Balerion, the Black Dread. That's a Game of Thrones reference for you guys. This guy is one of my pitch black northern blue-tongued skinks. He's one of the blackest ones that I've produced so far. He's a real sweetheart too. This is his first year as a young adult, and hopefully get to see some babies from him soon. So stick around as I show you how I take care of these amazing animals.
I'm Frank Payne, biology teacher, reptile breeder, and former zookeeper. I'm here to share with you my passion and experience working with these beautiful and fascinating animals. Welcome to Living Art.
All right, so let's talk about why this new setup of mine is such an improvement over what I've done in the past. And there's a number of things. One is they're larger. These are 3x2 tubs, 3 feet by 2 feet tubs. That's like 1.5 times the square inch, the square footage of the standard V70 tubs that breeders often use. It works, but this gives them a lot more space. Another thing is the tops are fully screened. It's 1/4 inch hardware cloth, so lots of ventilation, and it's ventilation that's on the top. One thing I found with my other setups is that unless a significant portion of the top is ventilated, it's far too stagnant for northern blue tongues. They are not a high humidity species. They do well with ventilation. And going along with that is the fact that I can put lighting on top of it. The fact of the matter is, guys, is that northern blue-tongued skinks are diurnal lizards, which means that they're day active. These animals are out in the sun in nature. They are not a nocturnal species that is holed up all day long and doesn't see the sun very often. These animals are out in the sun throughout their lives. It only makes sense to provide them with as close to that as we can in captivity. So because of that, they now have ultraviolet light. I use Zoo Med 5.0. For this species, as well as halogen basking. It's about as close as we can get to the heat from the sun in our indoor setups. Nothing beats Mother Nature, but this is as close as we can get it. From what I've seen, my own experience keeping northerns for over 25 years, when I've made the switch to using ultraviolet light, to using overhead halogen for heating, the difference in the health and the vigor of the animals and the coloration of the animals is mind-blowing. I was a skeptic at first too. Blue tongues obviously can survive and breed in racks, in tubs without any light and just belly heat. But from what I've seen, that's just proof of their hardiness and their toughness, not the fact that that's what's best for them. I've seen such an improvement in all aspects of their behavior and of their physical appearance since switching to this. I just feel so much better being able to see the animals behave in a much more naturalistic way, thermoregulating as they would, and hiding as they would, and kind of going and following the cycles of the day. And the fact that I have the ultraviolet light as a fluorescent and the heat source as a halogen heat light on separate channels, it allows me for much better control than what I've had previously. I have them on 2 separate channels so that the daylight and the ultraviolet is on for a longer period of time than the actual heat source, which is at its peak in the middle of the day. So they do have them on two. I do have them on 2 separate timers. Also, what's really cool is I have all of the halogen heat bulbs plugged into a dimmer switch, so I can control the intensity of the heat as I see fit, based on my room conditions and based on the time of year, because they are, of course, very seasonal lizards. I do hibernate these animals. We used to call it brumation. That's not technically accurate, as according to the current scientific literature. It really is pretty much hibernation. I do hibernate them for 2 to 3 months out of the year, where I turn off all the heat source. I still provide them with light at a reduced photo period, 8 hours in the winter, 12 hours in the spring and fall, and 14 hours in the summer. But I turn off the heat completely in the winter. They stop eating. So if you come in, let me give you a look at what it looks like on the inside of one of these things. Look how cool this is. I pull this out. Really simple, but it has everything the animal needs. We have a hide box right here on the cool side. There's one of my beautiful pitch black ladies. There she is. So she's on the cool side. And then if we look over here, she has it kind of covered over, but I have this slate, which is underneath the heat source, so it gets nice and warm. And then they will actually crawl underneath that so they can get the heat, but also be shaded if they want. Fresh water, of course. And then this is the substrate that I've landed on that I like the most. This is a Rep to Chip, basically chipped up coconut husk. So I've used all the substrates under the sun that you can think of. Aspen, pine, cypress mulch. This stuff has the best of everything. It holds a little bit of moisture, as much as you want it to, really, without rotting, without getting gross, and it dries out pretty quickly. The animals can burrow in it. Easy to replace as they mess and that sort of thing. So by far for me, this is the best. Because another thing, there's no dust in it like there is with like aspen or pine, even cypress. A lot of dust accumulation on the bottom. This doesn't have that. So of all the substrates I've tried, this is my favorite. This is Rep to Chip. There are other brands. It's like the big blocks of compressed coconut chips. The ball python guys use this almost exclusively these days, and I can see why. It's absolutely great. Like I said, this is a 3x2 tub, slides in and out super easy. A lot of you are probably wondering, where did I get this set up? This one comes from PM Herps, Paul Mitchell Herps. I've been buying a lot of enclosures from Paul over the years, and I absolutely love these. These are, in my opinion, an ideal breeder setup for somebody like me that has a good number of blue tongues or a good number of bearded dragons or jeweled lacerdas. I actually have some jeweled lacerdas in temporary housing in here, right over here. They spend most of their time either in hibernation or outside in my yard, but in the spring, late winter, when I do breed them indoors. So they are staying in here. There's one actually coming over. Hi, you want to come out? I know it's a blue tongue video, but here, you can get a chance to see some jeweled lacerdas if you want. There's a melanistic guy and his lady. Hi. They're always begging for food. Awesome, awesome animals. So a lot of animals would fit in here. Now, this is a perfect breeder setup, like I said. Something this simplistic and even this size is not something I would recommend as a pet keeper. If you are keeping just one or two or even a handful of animals as pets, try to do something bigger. Try to do something more naturalistic, something with more for the animal to crawl on and whatnot. This is very simplistic. It has everything they need, but you could certainly do better for one or two animals. So then some of you might be asking, well, why don't you do better? Well, it's a great question, but at the end of the day, I am a breeder, and I only have so much space, I only have so much time, and I only have so much money. We have to be understanding of the people that breed animals like this, where it's not going to be to the absolute highest standard of what we know is best for the animal, because there are constraints, real constraints of time and money and space. And if it wasn't for breeders like myself, only wild-caught animals would be available. Without us, quite frankly, kind of like doing the best that we can, and maybe not to the highest level that we would like, or that you can do with just one or two animals, we are still producing healthy captive bred animals for the public. And this is one of my really nicely colored northerns. She's what many would call a white northern, although she's not of that particular lineage. She's very, very light colored, produces some amazing babies, an absolute sweetheart too. While I have her out, let's talk about how I actually care for these animals. So you see the enclosures, you hear me talk about the setup a little bit, the importance of breeders in the hobby. Now let's talk about what I actually do day by day. So in the spring and the summer, I feed my animals twice a week. Usually on the weekends, then like Tuesday or Wednesday. I generally feed high quality dog food. It could be like the frozen raw stuff, which you then thaw out, of course, or canned food. And then you can supplement that. I love to give them, especially my gravid females, I love to give them a small mouse, a frozen thawed mouse. And even the males, I give that to occasionally. It's a very natural, healthy, whole food. I do like to give them insects occasionally, like superworms and dubia roaches. And if you want them to, especially as babies, I'll give them some crickets to chase around. It's really good stimulation and enrichment. Occasionally some fruits and veggies, although I think they, in the wild, they're mostly going after protein sources, but you can definitely give them some fruit and stuff. They'll eat that in small quantities. So only twice a week. You know, try to think about like this big or so, the size of the meal. Think about an animal this size, what its stomach size would actually be. You don't need to go anything bigger than that. And you can get away with just feeding them once a week, but I like to do smaller meals twice a week. Of course, fresh water at all times. I make sure that they have that every day, and then once a week, completely take out the water bowl, replace it with a new sanitized one. Spot check the bedding for feces and urates. Do that on a regular basis. Super easy to take care of, right? I told you already that in the winter I hibernate them, or I just turn off the heat, let it get to room temperatures. So just so you have an idea, when I hibernate them, it's around 60 degrees up to 65 maybe during the day. A little bit cooler is okay, so high 50s is what I do. They could probably take colder, but I don't see any need to go anything lower than that. In all my years breeding them, you know, down to 60 is just fine to get sperm production in the males and have nice healthy litters in the spring from the females. All right, in terms of basking temperatures, I like to get it around 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and then that's only in one spot, of course. It should cool off towards the other end of the enclosure. So get down into the 70s is great during the day. A little cooler, a little warmer is not a big deal. They are extremely adaptable, extremely hardy animals. You do want to provide them with that nice hot basking spot. That basking spot does not have to be on the entire time that the sun is out, that the light is on. You know, 6 to 8 hours of that temperature is more than adequate for them. It'll save you a little bit of electricity, and also that's natural too. They're not going to have peak basking temperatures all day long in the wild. So around 6 to 8 hours is when I have the basking lights on for them. All right, guys, I think that about covers all the basic care of these guys. They're extremely simple and hardy animals. They can live well over 20 years. I had my first one for like 24, 25 years. So they make just wonderful, you know, very long-term pets. So I highly recommend a northern blue-tongue skink. Now keep in mind, this is very different from the wild-caught stuff you might find at a pet store or at a reptile show. So make sure that you're asking whoever you're buying your blue-tongue from, is it captive bred, what species it is. Get yourself an Australian one like this northern or an eastern. Stay away from the wild caught ones, the host of issues that come along with those wild caught ones, as well as the parasites and the fact that they require more specific husbandry, and well, the fact that you're taking an animal out of the wild when there's plenty of captive bred to go around. Definitely ask whoever you're buying your animal from where it came from. Make sure it's a captive bred Australian blue-tongue skink. That's definitely your best bet, especially if you're a beginner or just a pet keeper. Speaking of that, in a couple of months, this girl and many of my other female blue tongues are going to be giving birth. So be on the lookout for some baby blue tongue skink videos, nothing cuter than that, and plenty of animals on offer from me in the late spring and early summer. So I hope that was informative. Stick around, because next week, hopefully next week, we're going to be doing a leap-centric video where you're going to see me talking about the leap habitats that I have set up and how I take care of chameleons and the blue beauty and nulls that I keep in those awesome habitats. So thanks again, guys, for joining me. If you haven't already, like and subscribe like all of us say. Share that video out there so other people get a chance to see the channel and to see the information I'm putting out there. Before I sign off, I want to give a couple of quick shout outs. One, to my buddy Dale Tamura. He did a great job at the Panoma Super Expo. He won 2 awards from Dave Kaufman, much deserved, so big shout out to him. That's why I'm repping his shirt right now. And also thank you very much to Wicked Reptiles for giving us our channel a shout out and recognizing the work that we're putting in. So thank you, you too. And I'll see you next time. Later.